After the bushfires of 2019-2020, COVID, and a rain bomb, which had caused a landslide blocking Thirlmere from the rest of New South Wales, the Thirlmere Festival of Steam had returned for the first time in 3 years. Now that the landslide to Picton had been cleared and repaired since May by the Australian Rail Track Corporation, ARTC, we start off the day with 3642 leading its train with the Garrett 6029 at the back as far as Picton from Thirlmere on Saturday, June 25th, 2022. This is the first time in 4 years that 3642 is seen pulling a train after its farewell run to Mossvale with 3526 in 2018, which can be seen in our August 2018 video. It's also the first time since 2015 that these two locos had worked together since working on a tour train to Mossvale, which can be seen in our May 2015 edition. Later, 6029 now leads the train back to Thirlmere. The two locos will stop to wait for 3265 to depart Thirlmere station for its shuttle trip to Buxton. Afterwards, we caught up with 3265, who had taken over from 3526 on its first run on a shuttle train to Buxton. Here we see the loco and its train at Kurraja. Then we see it arriving at Buxton, ready to run round for the return trip. 3265 is preserved by the Museum of Applied Arts and Science, commonly known as the Powerhouse Museum. We return to Thirlmere, and we once again see 3642 leading its second train to Picton with 6029.
När jag ringer försöker jag klicka och kan plocka in det.
While the steam locomotives are the centerpieces of the festival, traction engines are on display too, which we'll see more of later on. Meanwhile, 3265, which had returned from Buxton, will be uncoupled and will let 3526 take over its run to Buxton for its second run. Meanwhile, 3801 is seen coming out from the grounds of the New South Wales Rail Museum after being on display during the morning. Once 6029 and 3642 return from Picton, 3801 will take over the garret for the afternoon. We now head to the New South Wales Rail Museum, and we see 3801, in its first Festival of Steam appearance since it last steamed in 2007, awaiting departure to Picton with 3642. Before we see it heading off, we see Colgrab's steam crane 1064 in action trundling up and down in the museum yard. These steam cranes were designed for coaling steam locomotives in smaller country locomotive depots, which lacked more formal locomotive servicing facilities.
Give me reverse, please, driver.
1064 was built in 1918 by the Austral Otis Engineering Company at the Alfred Harmon Works in Port Melbourne, Victoria, and had retired from the New South Wales Government Railway in 1971, and was then transferred to the museum when they were located at Enfield in Sydney. Meanwhile, 3265 is seen at the water tower to await for 3526 returning from Buxton. For the rest of the afternoon, the two locos will double head to Buxton. 2705 is seen on display at the museum's amphitheatre, offering photo opportunities, cab visits, and a blow of its whistle. We now see 3801 departing with 3642 for Picton. The last time these two engines had worked with each other was back in the 1990s, when 3801 was under custodianship of the 3801 Limited, now known as East Coast Heritage Rail. With 3801 taking over 6029's trains with 3642, the Garratt would now take 3801's place as a display piece for the rest of the afternoon at the museum. (6029) now rests, while 3526 in the background had just returned from Buxton. Prior to the festival, 6029 had officially become a member of Transport Heritage New South Wales's fleet in May 2022. Originally, the Garratt was owned by a syndicate after it was placed on sale by Slattery Auctions in 2017, after the ACT division of the Australian Railway Historical Society, the engine's first owner, had gone into liquidation in 2016. Nearby, more traction engines are on display from the Campbelltown Steam Machineary Museum in Menangle Park. This traction engine offers guests to blow its whistle. At the museum entrance is an Aveling imported limited steam tip wagon that was once used by Rockdale Council in South Sydney during the 1920s. It retired in 1946 and was preserved by the Powerhouse Museum in 1962. It was restored back to steam by the museum in 1984 and was displayed in the museum's transport exhibition from 1988 to 1999. Nowadays, it still makes display appearances at special events. After our visit to the museum, we see 3801 and 3642 pulling into Thirlmere station. Before we see 3801 and 3642, we make our way to Kurrajard again, this time seeing 3265 and 3526 double heading to Buxton. We return to Thirlmere, and we see 3642 leading the way once again to Picton. To end the day, we see 3801 climbing its way up the Thirlmere banks as it makes its way back to Thirlmere in a beautiful winter's mid-afternoon.